Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons, or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, and today I am going to be the mom to Richie's pop art, because we are reviewing a very fun, kind of weird, but really special episode that I'm excited to talk about here in a little bit. But we're reviewing Mom and Pop Art today, and joining me, as always, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How are you today, Rich?
I think it's cute that you consider me the artistic one out of both of us. I'm the pop in this scenario, so I will go with it. It's a good day to talk about The Simpsons, Miles. I'm intrigued to see how you feel about this episode. I know this is one, at least for me, that always stood out in my mind since I was a child, especially because of all the Le Grill antics.
What the hell is that?
I think that's the Spanish side, but we'll try to figure that out as we go along here. We'll see if this one holds up. I'm excited to see, like I said, how you feel. So let's get into it, man. Let me throw it back to you. The man, the myth, the God bless him. It is Miles.
Yeah, man. This one is an episode that does kind of stand out in terms of just an iconic episode, but not necessarily for the same reason as some of the others that we've talked about. It doesn't have anything like very memorable, like Canyonero in it, like catchy wise. It doesn't have any major characters that we get to take along with us in the rest of the show. It's like a one-off character played by Isabella Rossellini, which is cool. But again, this episode does feel special. Why, before I get into something I learned while researching for today's podcast, what was it about this episode for you? Maybe there's something that I was missing, or maybe we're gonna have something in common here, but what was it about this episode for you that made it stand out?
Oh, definitely the accidental artist in Homer, and I love the scene where like Lisa and Bart are trying to get him angry because the WB, for those that were too young, the CW used to play ads for reruns for this, and they would play a little snippet where Marge tells them I might be a little attracted to Millhouse, and like that played on repeat like all day when they're advertising this episode. So like I'd forgotten about that part, and that made me really laugh. And just the whole grill thing is fantastic in this episode. And then I love the story point that they actually bring up a lot in this episode of like Homer fulfilling Marge's dream without even trying. And there's just a lot of fun dynamics in this episode, I think.
That right there is something that like you really feel for Marge in this, because I think everybody's experienced that, where you really want to be good at something, and then like someone or even just some random person comes along and they look like they do it effortlessly, and you're just like, you son of a bitch. Which you can kind of see in Marge a little bit. But so doing the research for this one, I did of course watch the director's commentary, which featured Matt Groening, Mike Scully, George Meyer. Steve Moore was actually on call from Burbank working on the Simpsons movie. Which is, again, a really exciting thing happening through this season of the DVD commentaries, as you're getting like updates as the movie is being in production, which is kind of interesting. But the thing that made this episode stand out, Al Jean, the writer of this episode, was actually on the commentary. This was the first episode. Mom and Pop Art was the first episode that Al Jean returned to The Simpsons from after leaving the show in season 4, along with Mike Reese, as they were showrunners together at the time. And Al Jean took a break. He had, on the commentary, said he had spent the last 3 years of his life at this point working for Disney, and this was the first time he came back to the show. At this time, just as a writer, and just basically another season, because we're almost at the end of this one. Basically, after season 11, we know that Al Jean will step back into the role of showrunner, and he has yet to leave it. He's still there to this day.
The undisputed longest-running showrunner, for sure.
I just thought it was so interesting that we both had this episode. Like, it stands out in our minds, and it's like, you know there's something special about it. I did not realize that was what it was. This is going back to kind of like an old school Simpsons style, really, because Al Jean is very OG in the Simpsons world.
Yeah, and this episode definitely has a bit of a different feel to it, too, so I guess you can attribute that to Al.
This one, so during the commentary, I should say, Al Jean is actually the showrunner at the time at The Simpsons, and he actually came into the room to specifically talk about this episode. But he is so busy as the showrunner on the current season, which I'm trying to think. I'm guessing that would have been approximately season 16-ish, based on, if I'm doing the math on that right, because I think the Simpsons movie was 2007. We're currently in, like, 10, so I guess that'd actually be closer to probably season 17. We're going to say 16 or 17. I should have looked that up, but Al Jean was actually... I'm just going to let
you keep messing with your own brain.
Al Jean was actually the showrunner currently while the commentary track was being made for this and while the movie was being in production, so like there was a lot happening, and unfortunately Al Jean only got to stay for about 10 minutes, but it was a very informative 10 minutes that he spent, talking about some of the making and some of the things that went into this. So let's go ahead and dive on into this episode. Again, the title of this episode is Mom and Pop Art, and it originally aired on April 11th, 1999. We get a chalkboard gag as a trained ape could not teach Jim, which I think would be fun to watch. We get
Bart attempted that, or called a teacher a trained ape. Or
either one is kind of funny, but yeah, he probably called the coach an ape, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think it's more fun to think that he actually got an ape inside there.
I mean, it does kind of fit the theme of this episode, or go along with the plot of this episode, rather.
There you go. Andy is a beastmaster, so he could do it.
Your argument for that does get some more credibility in this episode, I am forced to admit, though I do still not agree with it in any regard. I think it's ridiculous. But this is one of the few examples where... you could kind of try to make an argument at least. But regardless, the couch gag on this one is a repeat. It is the Dr. Strangelove where the couch falls through the floor. Much like the bomb, the Simpsons are all wearing cowboy hats and riding it down, rodeo style.
Woohoo!
We open to see that Homer is relaxing on his hammock, which I'm sure he purchased in the hammock district. However, he is using it in his backyard while Marge is working on the yard, and Homer is drinking beer from a coconut, and he even has a little jingle to go along with it.
You put the beer in the coconut and drink it all up. You put the beer in the coconut and throw the can away.
And he actually throws the empty can over the fence, which we hear a plink as it hits Ned Flanders in the face.
Hammock. Homer!
And to respond to Ned, Homer doesn't actually, acknowledge him in any way. He just repeats the lyric, and you throw the can away, and throws another one over the fence. Plop!
I said, Homer!
And you throw the can away. Huh? Unfortunately, this time when he reaches for the table, there's no can in place.
Oh, coconut can hold a lot of beer.
Right? He's going through them, man. Marge, I'm out of beer.
Ned just walks away. He's like, I'm not going to win this fight. I'm just
going to pick up the cans in my own backyard. Yeah.
Terrible.
It's not the first time he'll kind of be annoyed with Homer in this episode.
You know, homie, a lot of men use their Saturdays to do things around the house. Hint, hint.
But Marge, I'm not like other men. That's why you buy me pants at that special store. And he snaps his elastic waistband.
I'm serious. You never finished painting the garage.
And we actually see the garage door that does have some paint on it, to be fair, but it's a note Homer painted himself that says, start here tomorrow, but it's dated 7/17/95. Which, another little fun fact from the commentary, that was actually Mike Scully and Julie Thacker Scully's wedding.
Aw. Then you could at least get that snake out of the piano.
And we see what looks like a player piano, but it is in fact not, and the snake kind of leers out of it a little bit. You can just see its glowing evil eyes. But Homer decides, you know what? Fine, I'll drop everything, and I'm just gonna doing just for you. But you'll have to live with the guilt of ruining my Saturday. Can you live with that, Marge? Huh? Can ya?
Yep.
Can ya? Marge
glares at him.
Yeah. And then actually Homer just groans and throws his now coconut, which I assume is empty, over the fence and once again hits Ned Flanders in the head.
God bless him.
There's kind of like a slip here, and another one we'll kind of see later, where Ned gets like legit angry with the Lord. And remember, we've already seen an entire episode based on how Ned really should let his frustration out, but you can see him in real time kind of like bottling it inside and, turning his praise back up north.
See, I don't think that he was about to swear here, because that's just the bit, is that you think he's about to swear, but he was never really going to swear.
But that's my point, is he needs to. Like, it's like, we know that that's just bottling up inside, and he's going to explode and have a breakdown.
Are you saying that things from past episodes should carry over to the next episode in the Simpsons universe, Miles?
What have we even been doing with our time these last 4 years, man?
I guess we're canceled then.
Oh, man. So Homer actually takes Bart, and they go to Mom and Pop Hardware, which is a subsidiary of Global Dynamics Incorporated. And they actually see squeaky voice teen, but he's wearing his manager, hammer hat, I guess. It's literally a ball cap with a hammer sticking up top of it.
Pretty big.
Excuse me, I have a few questions for Pop.
That's me.
You're Pop? No offense, but even I could kick your ass. That's Bart.
Yeah. Hey, get off my case. The only reason I'm working here is to try to get a date with Mom.
Which sounds awkward, but Mom is actually a teenage girl who is looking or filing her nails on a grinder while smoking a cigarette. But
you see, kids, back in the day, you could smoke inside establishments.
I don't think you could while you were on the clock working, for what it's worth.
But I just am saying they allowed smoking indoors.
Sure. So, a couple of things I already need to catch up on the commentary. Like I said, it's fairly informative early on, and then it does kind of trail off a little bit because the writer, Al Jean, had to go be busy running the current season of the show. But a few things already. First of all, this episode was actually inspired by Al Jean reading an article in a magazine. It was a craze going on in California at the time, and it was called Found Art. And it was literally people just finding hunks of garbage out of trash cans and rearranging them. And Al Jean joked, it really could have been called Found Garbage. But people would find this garbage, rearrange it, and then turn around and sell it for, hundreds or sometimes even more dollars. And he just thought that was really fascinating. And also he's like, well, what would it be like if Homer did that? And that was the bones, if you will, of this episode, which I think is pretty fun. Just that's one of those weird things you read about. And I think you can commonly ask the question, what would it be like if Homer did this? And there's a good chance, one, at this point, that the Simpsons have already done it, and two, that's the foundation for a solid episode.
I agree with that. Except I lean more towards they've already done it.
One additional thing to note real quick from Al Jean's side of things is this entire hardware store was largely inspired and, creatively based on the fact that his dad actually owns a hardware store called Jean's Hardware Store. And at the time of the commentary recording, at least, it was still in operation. So that's based on Al's father.
Nice.
Regardless, another Al actually makes an appearance, but this time it is Al from the show Home Improvement. And I can't even remember, is it actually him? It's definitely not his voice, but do they claim that it's him, or does it just look a lot like him?
No, it just looks like him. He actually says, I'm Doug Vaccaro. You may know me as Chip. Wise cracking assistant on the hits come tooling around.
So he's like a parody character of Tim the Toolman, or of Al Borland from Home Improvement.
Yeah, and there's a TV area that's playing as Homer's walking by. We also just missed Skinner and Krabappel talking in an aisle where Edna's acting a little testy, I guess is the word I want to use.
I think she's a bit annoyed by Skinner and her situation. Like, she clearly wants to be with Skinner, but Skinner's starting to... They're kind of, like, going into that trope where Skinner always, is more interested in his mother than he is Edna.
Well, they don't even reference that here, but you can just feel the frustration from Edna. And
she's like, he's like, we should get this dimmer switch so we could put some more romance in our love nest. And Edna's like, ha! You mean the janitor's closet?
Yeah, so it's that to like hide from mother, basically. And then when Skinner questions her about what's wrong, she's like, I want a baby now.
And that's when you notice Bart's actually watching him.
Why don't we continue this in pool supplies? And Bart's just standing there with a blank stare on his face.
That's when Homer gets distracted by the TV, of course, and it's actually the Doug Vaccaro again. He's Tony Borland, but he's doing an infomercial for barbecue pits that you build yourself. So you basically buy a kit, and the way that the video makes it seem is it's...
a man in an apron.
The way the video makes it seem is it's as easy as snapping your fingers... and making the grill appear, though they do have the, like, classic thing at the end where they're like, warning, the snapping of fingers may not actually result in a grill being built.
Like, it's no more difficult than adding an aviary or Olympic-sized swimming pool. In fact, it's... What?
And then they also, like, they're totally marketing to Homer exactly, because once he snaps, you see the completed grill, and he's like, look at all the things you can cook, like chicken. Or if you're not into chicken, Homer's like, no,
I'm into chicken.
How about wild boar? Snap, swordfish. Snap, hippo. Snap. And, like, you actually see, like, a rotisserie version of all of those animals, including a miniature hippo, like, just spitting on the rotisserie. And I love Homer's response here.
Hippo.
As if he's had it many times before.
Yeah.
They also announce, in addition to the food not appearing when you snap, a light-hearted apron is also not included.
Are you excited about them bringing Home Improvement back?
I didn't know they were bringing Home Improvement back yet, but short answer, yes. Long answer, what are the details?
I don't know much. I thought they posted a picture where it was like Tim Allen and I forget the guy's name that plays Al, but they were like hugging, and it's clearly them in like modern times. And the tagline was that not lighthearted, green light given for the new Home Improvement, or they're bringing it back or something. I don't know if it's going to be a movie or a limited series, but I
would be interested to catch up with those characters in 2020. I think that Tim Allen more or less tried to do that, like, in a off way with the Still Standing show, which is just, honestly, like, I know it's, like, comedy or whatever, and it is subjective, of course, but to me personally, like, his political, like, side of things were, like, more ranty than funny a lot of the times. Yeah. Like, I felt like he was, like, literally preaching to conservatives as opposed to, like, trying to make everybody laugh and, like, being a conservative character. Honestly, I thought they did a much better job of that with when they did the Roseanne reboot up until that show got weird. Not the show, but the characters in it. The actors playing the characters in it. You know what I mean. But yeah, Home Improvement, dude, I still watch, since it's almost Halloween, this one will actually air in November, but, I still watch every Halloween episode of Home Improvement and Roseanne, every October, just because I think those are some of the, Halloween-themed, sitcom episodes ever. Of course, the other one would be Treehouse of Horror, but, those are the other two that I'm just, way, way into.
I think we did an episode about this last year that you can go back and listen to, where we talked about our Halloween watching.
Oh, yeah, we totally did. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, yes, I am excited about Home Improvement, and we get a pseudo appearance of that in this episode here that we should probably get back to talking about.
Well, how about it, Bart? Would you like a new backyard barbecue pit?
Can I burn evidence in it?
We can all burn evidence in it.
And so it is decided. They buy the kit and they're taking it home. Only this time I love, this is probably the iconic joke from this episode, this next sequence here, because they get home and you see Homer, like, admiring what looks like the finished product, and he's like, oh, that's a good looking barbecue pit, but then he lowered it and he was just holding the box up, essentially. And then, I'm pretty sure this is it right here. The script gets a little weird over here, but basically, right off the bat, Homer, like, makes a complete mess. He's like, he pulls out the instructions, looks at the wrong side. It says,
whoa. Well, first, he gets Lisa to lay down all the cement. And she's, like, in physical pain because he didn't do any of it. She's like, oh, my back hurts. Can I go inside now?
Yeah, he's like, yeah. She's literally doing all the heavy lifting.
Yep. And then he opens the box and everything falls into the cement that's wet.
Oh, why must life be so hard? Why must I fail at every attempt at masonry?
It's like he's swinging at everything that's in the pit as he's saying that.
He's like hammering it, yeah. And that's also the iconic joke I was referencing is he picks up the instructions and reads the French side that says, Le Grill? What the hell is that?
English side ruin, must read French. Le Grill? What the hell is that?
So, as you might expect, after beating it with a pipe and dumping it all in concrete and not knowing how to read the instructions, it does not quite look like it did on the box. It looks like a giant...
Yes, it does.
It looks like a giant pile of junk.
No, because in the next little sequence, it shows the grill, and he goes, that's one fine-looking grill.
That's what, yeah, we already talked about that part. He lowers the box, yeah. But once we reveal that it is in fact a hot mess, he tries to return it to Mom and Pop's hardware store. And, you know, I gotta give props to Squeaky Voice Teen here, because that hammer hat did the trick. When he walked in, you see Mom and Pop are making out. Homer tries to return the barbecue kit, but the teen's like, oh, sorry, all sales are final unless they're in a box and accompanied by a receipt. Homer tries to point out the receipt is actually still in there, and he's like shining a flashlight down into like a concrete, like sealed pipe.
It's here and here, and elements of the box here, and possibly here.
And the teen's like, sorry, I didn't get this hammer hat by handing out refunds.
What's a refund?
I don't know. I put an R in there.
I mean, he knows what he's doing. That hammer's giving him confidence.
I said refund with a lot of confidence. I thought you were just going to let me slide on that.
What I like in his barbecue pit that's gone disastrous is you can see in each scene there's a 2x4, which I don't remember where the 2x4 came for, but a watch is wrapped around it. So I don't know why he didn't take the watch off and keep it, but it's still there. So bye-bye watch. I never even see him wear a watch.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I'm sorry. One thing. IMDb pointed this out, and it made me think a whole lot. But you'll also see a wheel in all the mess, and it's a barbecue pit. Like it's not supposed to be like portable.
Maybe part of the wheelbarrow?
Where did the wheel come from? You're not supposed to be able to move it around. It's a pit, like it's in the ground in cement.
Yeah, that is weird.
That's a very good point.
And like they're using the wheelbarrow, so it couldn't have been the wheel from the wheelbarrow, I don't think, unless there's a second one we didn't see. But
it's the backup wheel. Now
Homer has this big mess, this literal hunk of junk that he's trying to like get rid of. So he decides he's going to stuff it into a Toys for Tots bin. But Chief Wiggum taps him on the shoulder and is like, hold on there, Santa Claus. That box is for toys only.
Well, of course, any kid would love to have this activity center. It teaches them while they learn.
Yeah, nice try, St. Nick. Now hit the road, Kris Kringle.
But
you heard me. And then the next we see the mob comes up, and they're actually clearly dumping a body in a rug. It's like a body rolled up in a rug, and they toss it in. Wiggum's like, what you guys got in the bag there?
Yeah, beanie baby. No questions asked after that.
Hard at work, doing protecting and serving. But Homer decides he's going to just like tie this wagon that he has, his like barbecue pit, we'll call it, to the back of his car. But as he's actually driving home, his bumper actually falls. Well, first of all, he's like, I'm never going to get rid of it. It'll follow me to the end of the earth. And then they hit one bump, and it actually rips his bumper straight off. And obviously, the wagon was attached to the bumper.
All right, my bumper fell off.
Cars start swerving out of the way, crashing.
Not my fault. Act of God. Act of God.
Oh, man. So the barbecue pit actually lands on somebody's hood, and that's when Homer's like, I'm out of here. He adjusts the view of the mirror and just takes off, basically.
Well, like he can see in the rearview mirror that it's destroyed this car, and that's when he goes, so he turns the rearview mirror, and then he sees deer in the rearview mirror, and he's like, and then he takes off.
Yep.
So it's like, if I didn't see it, it didn't happen.
So next we see Homer is at home in the shower, shaving his shoulders and singing about it.
Shaving my shoulders, I'm getting it all shaved off.
Homie, someone's at the door. They want to talk to you about some sort of car accident.
Take the kids out back.
And Homer reaches behind the toilet and pulls out a shotgun. Click, click.
Which, another fun fact about shotguns on The Simpsons, again pointed out by IMDb, is that they usually do double-barreled shotguns, which actually do not make that clicking sound. But The Simpsons continually make this error.
It's probably not an error. They probably know, and they're just like, double barrel looks cooler, and that click-click sound sounds cooler.
It registers in your brain.
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, man. I saw a really funny meme the other day. Oh, this is going to be all over the place. Whatever. You know that MIA song where it's like got like the gun? It's called Paper Airplanes, I think, or Paper Planes. And it's the one that like, oh, I'm going to click, click, ching. You have any idea what I'm about? Yeah. All right. So like the meme is like that song runtime is like 3 minutes. That song runtime using like 1800s muskets is like 1 hour and 38 minutes or something like that.
That's actually funny. Yeah. Good for you, Miles.
Really good stuff. I wish I was that funny sometimes.
Oh
well.
This just became a sad podcast, a sad cast.
Yeah, sadgasm. Ooh, that'd actually be a good name for a sad podcast. Anyway, we see a woman downstairs who addresses Homer, and Homer again has his shotgun in his hands. But when she asks, basically tells Homer that she believes something of his struck her car.
Oh yeah, prove it.
And she opens the door, revealing the art, we'll call it, or barbecue pit until it becomes art here in a moment. It's still attached to the bumper, which has Homer's license plate on it. That is your license plate, isn't it?
And can we point out that he has already sat down the shotgun in Maggie's crib? In
Maggie's crib, yeah. Once she realized, well, I think that happens once he realizes that she's not going to sue him.
I thought he did it like once he realized that somebody wasn't there, when she didn't have a hospital.
The important part was that he set the gun down in Maggie's crib for sure, whenever it happened.
All right, just go ahead and sue me. Everybody else does. The average settlement is $68,000.
Which it's like, do they just not pay those, or?
Yeah. He's got
Homer
rich
just makes
money.
So much money. Like his job just pays a lot more than we realize.
We've seen his checks before. They really don't.
The woman goes on to explain that she's not here to sue. In fact, her name is Astrid Weller, and she's an art gallery owner, and she actually wants to display Homer's piece.
You mean this hunk of junk? This isn't art. It's the barbecue that pushed me over the edge. Didn't you? You stupid! Ah!
And he starts kicking it, but again, remember, it's made out of metal and concrete. Art isn't just pretty pictures, it's an expression of raw human emotion. In your case, rage.
Oh, I got that, lady.
And we actually see Marge peeking around the corner checking in. Is everything okay? I got worried when I didn't hear any shots.
Lady says I'm an artist.
Marge is, of course, a little bit shocked by this. She doesn't really believe that her husband could be an artist, but Astrid explains, your husband's work is what we call outsider arts. It could be a mental patient, or hillbilly, or a chimpanzee.
In high school, I was voted most likely to be a mental patient, hillbilly, or chimpanzee.
Oh, man. Astrid explains that Homer should be excited because outsider art is really in right now. In fact, it couldn't be hotter. Homer gets excited about this too. So
you better catch the fever. Catch it.
He's like shaking his fist at Bart. So excuse me. We actually see the Simpsons go to a outsider art display at the Louvre, American style, which I guess is in Springfield. Actually, this is another cool thing to commentary. We see a lot of art in this episode, and a lot of it are based on real art pieces, but there's also a lot of art pieces that are just thrown in that are by various friends who are artists of the Simpsons staff. So they have, people that paint or draw, and they're like, hey, we'll throw your art in. And of course, that includes their friend Matt Groening as well.
Oh. I also like that it said inside, outside art. On the outside.
Oh, yeah. Outside art. So Marge this is the first time where you kind of see like a little moment where Marge is actually kind of, I guess jealous would be the right word. She even points out that she studied art for years, but she just does not get this. And Bart even calls her out saying it sounds like somebody's jealous.
Well, and this is after, I don't know who Jasper Johns is, but they make a lot of jokes at him being like a cheapskate in this episode.
Oh, he steals multiple things.
Yeah. So he must be some outsider art dude that's pretty well and famous.
He is an American painter. I don't know much about him, but I mean, just like a Wikipedia search, essentially. I'm going to get a shirt made about his search results. Jasper Johns was born on May 15th, 1930. He's an American painter, sculptor, and printmaker. And he was mostly associated with abstract expressionism and parts. So that I think he's just very on the nose for the style of art that they are kind of spoofing.
It was the style at the time.
Yeah. It says here he was known for wearing an onion on his belt as well. Yes.
But yeah, after Bart says that Marge is jealous, she tells him, "No, I'm not. I just can't believe some people are paying hundreds of dollars for something a hillbilly pulled out of the trash."
And Cletus pops up. "Hey, I done studied for years on how to get over that junkyard fence. Then I learned the gate was open."
He's all sad when he says that.
And none other than Burns and Smithers walk over to Homer's art, and Burns, surprisingly, seems to really, more than like it.
"Smithers, I think I'm in love."
Smithers, it looks like Smithers is assuming that Burns is about to tell him that he loves him.
"With this sculpture."
Sir, that's by Homer Simpson. I don't think you want to buy it."
"Smithers, years ago I blew the chance to buy Picasso's Guernica for a song. I don't know if I said that right, but luckily that song was White Christmas, and by hanging on to it I made billions. Anyway, I love this hideous thing. Young lady, I'll take it."
And he actually hands Astrid a check, and Astrid immediately turns to Homer, congratulates him because he is now a professional artist.
"Woohoo! Look, Marge, my first sale! In your face, Jasper Johns!"
And we actually cut to Jasper Johns, who's in the middle of stealing a light bulb, and he runs away. That actually brings us to the end of our first act. We open up our second act while Marge and the kids are eating in the dining room. Homer is trying to continue his art career, but really he's just piling up heaps of junk, essentially.
"What are you doing with that junk, Dad?"
"I'm gonna be an outsider artist. That way I can turn all these old baseball cards, Disney memorabilia, and antiques into something valuable."
"Homie, I'm really happy you sold your sculpture, but don't you think it may have been a fluke?"
Hey, I've always had an interest in art, dating back to my high school days when I painted portrait after portrait of Ringo Starr.
That's my life you're describing.
I think I remember my own life, Marge. I love that he just straight rips his wife's backstory for this.
He thinks they're the same person. There's some cuteness to that, I'm sure.
Homer's in the garage. He's got a giant lump of clay. And this is actually apparently, like, he's, like, whipping this clay or, beating it with a bat of some sort. He's trying to, like, anger it into, and this is apparently I didn't quite understand. They were kind of laughing a lot during the commentary, but this is actually apparently a parody of a real-life art sculpture style, dealing with clay.
Astrid said the key to my art is anger, but you know me. I'm Mr. Mellow. So I'm giving you kids permission to get me mad. Come on, give me what you got.
And he's like, well, if it'll help, Mom found out her engagement ring is made of rock candy.
Ah! Whack, whack, whack. Good work, honey. Keep it coming.
Well, I'm flunking math, and the other day I was a little attracted to Millhouse.
Ah! Whack, 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 whack.
So this is a weird joke in 2020, but I'm going to go with an easy fix, and it's Homer has no issue with Bart being attracted to another boy. He specifically thinks Millhouse is a dud, so that's what the joke is.
I want to point out that Bart was quick-fired with that statement, so was there some truth to that?
I think so. I mean, it seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you remember, all the way back when we had Carolyn Omine on the show, we even had a little like tangent where we talked about how Bart does sometimes have some tendencies or behaviors about him that do make you kind of wonder what his sexual orientation would be. Or maybe not his sexual orientation, but just kind of his, there's like a flamboyance about him at times.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Regardless, at the time, again, that was, I think, what the joke was. Now, again, the joke is because Millhouse is a dud, that upsets Homer, and he is able to beat that clay into submission. Or
Good
arts,
save,
or
Miles.
whatever. We cut over to Moe's Tavern, and Homer's actually there with Astrid and some of some of his fans. Including Gunter, Kilto, and Cecil Hampstead on Cecil.
So, you guys are Eurotrash, huh? How's that, working out for you?
To be honest, we are adrift to see decadent luxury and meaningless sex.
Uh-huh. So where might this sea be located?
I must be back to my hotel and practice my affectations for tomorrow. Bonsoir!
What do we owe you, Mo?
Nothing. Just give me a priceless sketch with a certificate of authenticity.
All right.
And he just scribbles something on a, piece of paper, and Barney's in and gets an idea. Hey, Mo, can I pay with the drawing?
Nice try there, 12-step.
And then you actually cut over to Barney, who's apparently been, drawing this entire time he's been drinking. Because you actually see what he's drawn as actually Surratt Sunday afternoon on Longrante Yachts, which I probably did not say all of those words correctly, but it's a very iconic art piece. I've seen it referenced before, and it's I want to say it's pointillism is what it's how its style is called. I don't know. I did take AP art history once, but I didn't do so hot in it.
Marge would be able to help us out with that one, but it's very beautiful what Barney painted there.
Yeah, but the joke is Barney's a really good painter. Much better than Homer's art.
What if he's only able to do it when he's drunk, though?
Probably is, yeah. Like darts and pool.
There you
go. So, back at the power plant, Homer is trying to just draw figures by sketching Lenny and Carl, but he chooses to do so while they're in the shower.
Homer, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable here.
Doesn't Lenny tell him shut up, it's for the art or something like that?
Yeah, and then Homer's like, yes, arts. Really weird.
Which again, going back to the other joke, makes this even wait, what? Why were you mad earlier? Like father, like son, dude. But back in the garage at home, Homer's still working on his, like, what he originally, got popular with, sculpture. And he's just, like, putting all sorts of junk together. But sorry. Marge brings Astrid down. Marge is all like, this is where the magic happens. And you can tell Marge this whole time knows Snarky. Homer is, like, full of shit. And, like, everybody is just buying into it. And Homer isn't, like, full of shit in the way that he knows he's full of shit. He's just like, oh, I did this before. I can do this again. But it's not raw and it's just him trying to make art. Whereas before, he was trying to make a grill.
There you go. Well put. And my issue with this is Astrid is there seeing what he's making. If she knows what's going to happen towards the end, or if she knows that art is fickle when people's opinions change, why has she not said anything?
Yeah, this seems like instead of the announcement she's about to make, which is that they're going to hold a show entirely devoted to Homer, instead she should probably be concerned right now. But it is really funny when he does get told he's going to have a show. Homer's response is a dagger at Marge.
Wow, it's like Marge's dream come true, but for me. Isn't that great, Marge? For me.
And again, Marge, you can just see the animation is great here. You can really see the pain and anger in Marge's eyes at this point. But to Marge's credit, she's still being a supportive wife, despite the fact that has got to hurt.
Yeah.
In fact, when they're sitting in bed later that night, I think it's, Marge is, that's what it is. She points out that they're actually advertising for his show in Art in America.
Homer's reading it, and Marge is just laying at art.
Yeah. Still. And this is where Marge is just like, had enough. I'm happy for you. Now, good night.
But, like, Homer says, it's the first time I've been mentioned there that I know of in Art in America. Good night. Click. Click. You're upset about something. Is this about that trip Barney and I took to Machu Picchu?
Oh, Homer, being an artist was my dream. But now, without even trying, you've accomplished more in a week than I have in my whole life.
Oh, honey, I've always liked your art. Your paintings look like the things they look like.
That's sweet, Homer, but how would you like it if, I don't know, I entered a belching contest?
Frankly, I'd be a little turned on.
You don't understand.
Marge, I've screwed up everything I've ever done. I mean, look at Bart's. But I finally found something where people worship me for screwing up. And that feels pretty good.
Well, I guess nothing else matters as long as you're happy.
Now you're making sense. Good night.
Click. It's almost like Homer tried, but he's just too dense to get all the way there.
He was so close. Very,
very close. We do actually cut to the next day where it's Homer's big show. It's his solo show. He's got an entire exhibit. Astrid is excited for him and explains Homer is the most dangerous artist on the Springfield scene. Now, let's see what surprises he has for us tonight. And they actually reveal the curtain that shows these 3 sculptures that Homer was working on in his garage. He's got the botched hibachi, and he mentions that the tricycle's on loan from Maggie.
From the Maggie Simpson collection.
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah. It's really just like a hibachi grill with a tricycle, like, rammed through it. Next one is a failed shelving unit, a stupid stuck chainsaw and apple sauce.
I like that one.
He took a chainsaw and stabbed it through a shelving unit and then just dripped applesauce all over it.
It was all twisted, too. I like the twisted look to that thing.
I like the and applesauce, because that actually sounds like a real piece of fake art, like the title of one. And then finally, my thing de resistance. Attempted birdhouse 1. And you can see a poor bird is stuck inside. Quack, quack!
Shall we start the bidding at, say, $10,000?
Crickets.
All right. How about $1 million?
I love that he gets no reaction, so he raises the bid. That's just a simple but great joke. Mo yells out, I'll give you $2 for the bird if it's still alive.
And you don't see it does a close up of the birdhouse again, and there's no noise coming out of it.
And it also makes you wonder, what does Mo want with a bird for $2?
I mean, when he had a whale at one point, remember?
Mm-hmm.
He had a whale of a time.
Homer actually kind of like turns on Astrid a little bit. He's like getting upset. What's going on here? You weirdos love this stuff.
Homer, I'm afraid they only love what's new and shocking. These pieces are just like your earlier work.
You've gone from hip to boring. Why don't you call us when you get to kitsch? Ha!
Come on, Gunter, Quito, if we hurry, we can catch the heroin craze.
And everybody leaves Homer's show. Homer's upset. He's pleading with them to come back. And then he kind of gets angry. He's like, I'm a god to you. Worship me. Or fear my wrath. Please fear my wrath. Please. Call me.
Oh.
And that actually brings us to the end of our second act. We come for final act with Homer lying down in the middle of the living room, and Marge and Lisa are on the couch. Homer's upset. He doesn't understand why people don't like his art anymore, and Marge is still trying to be comforting, even though, again, this has been a real shit show for her. But she's like, Homer, I know you worked hard, but all of your things were kind of the same.
Hey, Ray J. Johnson never changed his act, and he's more popular now than he's ever been.
Who?
You could call him Ray, or you could call him Jay. You could call him Ray J, but he doesn't have to.
I'm sick of this already.
The point is, great artists are always trying new things, like Michelangelo or Shaquille O'Neal. You just need some inspiration.
I'm pretty sure this was not too long after Shaquille started rapping. It was definitely in the 90s. Not sure how soon or early that happened.
I almost said Shazam. What was his guy that ruined his career's name?
Kazam?
Yeah, there you go. Maybe it was right after that.
Maybe. Or Steel. That movie was actually pretty dope.
Yeah, I was thinking of that one too.
That was like a really early superhero movie before they started making really good superhero movies. One thing on that Ray J, we've actually talked about this before. This is not the first time we've discussed the Ray J joke. They've used the same joke before. And in fact, I want to say that on one of the episodes that we had Mike Reese on as a guest, I'm just going to name drop for like the next half of this episode is what I'm going to do now. But it just so happens that these episodes are relevant today, but with Mike Reese, I remember talking about this joke, or now it might have been Mike Price, and now I feel bad that I can't remember which conversation this was from. We've had all of these people on the show, by the way. You should check those interviews out. But the Ray J thing, I think, is interesting that it's when Al Jean comes back to the show, and that's what makes me think it's a Mike Reese thing, because those two are so bonded. That the idea that they would bring that joke back is kind of funny to me, because it's the same joke, but it still works for the Simpsons.
And still proves how dated it is, even more so if it's been a repeat joke.
Right. But that was Ray J's, like, basically his whole act. He just did that song, and, like, he made a lot of money doing it. So good for him. The Homer and Marge decide to visit the Springtonian Museum. Again, there's more art on display here from various friends of the Simpsons staff, and we see an Akbar and Jeff hand drawing by Matt Groening, which... There's a kid here, what's he doing in a museum? He can barely draw. That's
and then
Homer.
A giant eraser is like on Homer's forehead, moving back and forth. And from the point of view from the viewer, it looks like there's like a god character almost trying to erase Homer.
Like one of the animators is like mad at Homer because he's calling out his creator for not being able to draw. Homer's even like, oh no, I'm being erased! But that's when we see it's just two of the museum employees putting up an art display of a giant pencil balanced up on its tip. Another thing that was actually pointed out on the commentary track, which is pretty funny, Matt Groening joked about the point, or the fact that in the show, for whatever reason, they had his signature on the frame instead of the drawing.
I didn't even catch that. That's clever. It's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. Marge was actually just excited to be doing something like cultural together. They're walking around looking at art. And again, Marge actually knows art, so she's able to even see things like a Klaus Oldenburg, who's a European who defied convention and embraced American pop culture.
He must be 100 feet tall.
It's because the pencil was so giant.
Mm.
But Marge is going through pointing out all these various pieces of art that, she actually knows about. She points out one that it was featured a portrait of the Venetian canals, which
Turner.
Homer was very impressed with. It's glorious. The streets are paved with water. You could ride a walrus to work.
And then she points out numerous Picasso paintings and shows how he started out realistically and then moved on to Cubism. The joke, by the end of his life, he was being crank letters to the editor. They call it his angry jerk period.
And they even get into pop art a little bit. They spoof Andy Warhol's Campbell soup print, but in this case, it's a can of split pea. Ugh. With ham!
Split pea. Oh, with ham.
Marge is seeing if anything is inspiring Homer, but Homer's getting actually down in the dumps.
No, these guys are geniuses. I can never think of something like a soup or a pencil. I'm just gonna rest for a minute.
And Homer actually lays down on a bench and falls asleep, where we actually see him have a dream that is largely inspired by the art world. We see references to So's The Sleeping Gypsy. We see references to Da Vinci's Universal Man. They actually rolls over and punches and kicks Homer as he's going. I know we get the Salvador Dali dripping clocks, and they actually drip on him, and he's kind of disgusted. Andy Warhol himself is actually there and throws soup cans at Homer.
Yep.
And then that's when Homer tries to talk to Andy, but it turns out it's Marge as he wakes up.
Why does Art hate me? I never did anything to Art.
And he actually, like, as he's doing this, he like lifts his hands in frustration and punches through the Warhol soup prints.
Ooh, let's get out of here.
I never did anything to Art. Smash. Again, back to the Simpsons living room on this one. Lisa's also trying to comfort her dad, saying, I'm sorry if, Dad, if the museum didn't inspire you, maybe you should do something really radical like Christo.
Was he that jerk that revealed the magician's secrets?
No, Christo is a conceptual artist who does huge outdoor projects. He once wrapped the Reichstag in plastic.
Not the Reichstag.
And this is basically where Lisa explains the project was where he set up hundreds of yellow umbrellas along the California highway to make the world a more magical place. But sadly, a few of them did blow over and kill some people.
Killer umbrellas? Of course. Exquisite.
And according to IMDb, I did want to point out that is actually based on a real-life project, a real-life art project that did occur with umbrellas. And I don't think anybody was actually killed by them, but there was some issues that it basically had to be taken down because it caused some damage, is what I had read.
I thought it said that there was somebody that got killed
maybe
in California, but they also did it in Japan, I think, and that somebody got like electrocuted or something where they were trying to take everything down.
Oh, yeah. While they were in, I did read that. Like it didn't happen like on accident, but like it was when they were like taking the project down. An employee got electrocuted.
I got it back in California. One umbrella was uprooted during a windstorm, killing one spectator.
Oh, damn.
So he had to close the exhibition early, and then in Japan, a worker was fatally electrocuted while deconstructing the exhibit. So 2 people actually died.
I was way off, yeah.
So this was rooted in fact.
Wow. That's crazy, actually. And also, like, yeah, damn. But yep. that is what that is a reference to. 2 people that passed away because of an art display. What could go wrong if Homer does this?
Oh, no. That was a terrible joke.
No,
Dad, my point is you have to do something big and daring.
Big? Daring? Lisa, that's it! I've got an idea for a wonderful art project that'll make everyone love me again. Step 1, steal all the doormats in town. And so they do. We actually cut to the where they're driving around Bart and Homer, and they're throwing out doormats, and they're kind of like saying the names. They're actually covering all of the storm drains down the street, though. Bart's like, hit the road, welcome home.
Adios, Casa de Flanders.
See you in hell, God bless this house.
So long, The Simpsons. Don't!
I mean, that's funny, but also when you see what's going to happen, it's not like they need their doormat anymore.
Right. But again, they have incredible aim during the sequence. It's like some Paperboy style aim here.
Yeah, they've 3-starred that Paperboy level for sure.
Yeah.
For step 2, they had to go to stop at the zoo to put snorkels on all of the animals. Homer is finishing with the goats and pigs when Bart comes back and is like, all right, I got the bears.
Well, I was busy laughing because I forgot at the end of the previous part, Bart said, isn't this considered vandalism? And Homer says, that's for the courts to decide.
After, though, while they're at the zoo doing the snorkeling, like I said, Homer does goats and pigs while Bart does bears. And when he gets back, Homer's like,
all cut up.
I'll do the pony while you go put a snorkel on the lions.
Oh.
Not quite a fair distribution there. But the final step of the plan, they've covered the drains, they've snorkeled the animals, and now they open up the fire hydrants, flooding the streets, basically turning the streets of Springfield into the river canals of Venice. And this is actually, Bart's like, are you sure this is the vandalism, Dad?
I messed that up. Yeah.
It's all good.
It's for the courts to decide, son.
But we see a lot of possible lawsuits and vandalism cases happening the next day because...
Not if they don't know who did it.
That's true, but still somebody... There'll probably be an investigation because things like the oatmeal factory, which completely burst open once the water hits the oatmeal.
Well, and the fact that Homer's about to claim responsibility instantaneously.
That's true, because he has a megaphone and a boat, and he's just yelling to everybody to wake up and see his surprise. Marge is legit worried. Like, you could see the fear. Especially when she
hears Homer's voice.
Well, I thought, too, like, added when she looks out her window and sees a dolphin jumping by.
Oh, God. But, like, I like this scene because the way they set it up, where, like, she's so worried about the consequences of everything and how people are going to respond, and the fact that they kind of go in the opposite direction here.
Valid, yeah, 100%. They could have this could have easily turned into another Springfield mob. Well, I guess not easily, because they would have had to get boats. But this could have turned into a Springfield mob situation real fast.
But yeah, Homer's on the raft outside, and he yells, "People of Springfield, behold my latest work!"
Homer, what have you done?
It's conceptual art. The Grand Canals of Springfield. Just like Venice, without the Black Plague. What do you think?
Marge, of course, thinks some people are going to be upset, but Astrid floats by on a log, and she declares, I love it, Homer. You've turned this town into a work of art. I just wish Jasper Johns hadn't stolen my boat.
And then he immediately drives by on a motorboat, splashing her, going, so long, suckers!
Marge is like, well, they're in the business, but other people, real people, might not be so understanding. Which is when we cut to Ned Flanders, who is like, what, the flood? Maud, it's a miracle! The Lord has drowned the wicked and spared the righteous.
Isn't that Homer Simpson?
Looks like heaven's easier to get into than Arizona State. And he kind of looks upward, frustrated at God.
Ned with the zinger on Arizona State.
This is where a meme is born, really. Something that even people who haven't seen The Simpsons probably are somewhat familiar with this scene. Because we see Milhouse standing in his room wearing pants with the cuffs rolled up. He's initially upset. I hate these pants. But then, when he opens his door and his room is flooded...
Hey, they're working! My feet are soaked, but my cuffs are bone dry. Everything's coming up, Milhouse.
And he totally struts out of the room.
And he's taken a beating in this episode earlier, so he deserves a moment.
This is arguably Milhouse's biggest time to shine. Maybe you could say when he got the part for Fall Out Boy, but that didn't go so well. This was an all-around positive moment.
There you go, except that his socks are soaked.
And shoes.
Yep.
But this has actually turned into quite the treat for most of Springfield. We see a lot of people are enjoying rowing down. Luigi's got himself a little, one of those boats with the stick things like they have in Venice. Seymour and Edna are...
Whoa, Miles. Don't forget about the burn ward.
Oh my god, yeah. Like there's
up in the burn ward and you hear like that...
And then a collective Which, for what it's worth, flood water would be the absolute worst thing you could put on a burn victim. Like, it would be so dirty and everything would get infected.
I mean, if it's all clean water, and
it's not clean water. It's no longer clean water as soon as it hits the streets, man. Like, it's not going to go well. But it is a very funny joke.
Clean. You don't live there. They're in a bubble. Everything could be clean.
Maybe it depends on how recently they just moved towns after overfilling it with garbage. But we do see Skinner and Edna once again having a bit of a romantic moment, and actually it looks like this one might be big, because Skinner says, Edna, I've got to pop you a question, and I hope the answer is yes. Do you think... Oh, and yeah, Edna, like, he pulls out this little box, and Edna, like, you can tell, thinks, like, a proposal is on its way, but Skinner continues, do you think Mother would like this hat pin?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Edna, you've made me the happiest man on earth. Awkward.
Yep.
Like, kind of borderline creepy, but that's where the humor of their relationship comes from, let's be real.
Oh, we're real, Miles.
And we cut back to close out with our favorite family, of course, the Simpsons, where Bart is loving it because he's actually feeding popcorn to the animals, including the lion who comes, like, coming out of nowhere.
But they still have their snorkels on, too.
They all have their snorkels on, yeah. Even like the giraffe, who clearly doesn't need it. But Marge is also in a much happier place. She's painting, something she's always loved to do, even when Homer was kind of stealing her credit a little bit. But she's standing on the roof, and she says, what's that?
Said thunder, steal the thunder, and then I changed the lyrics.
Oh, got you. Well,
Let me sing much.
I have to admit, you created something people really love. You truly are an artist.
No, I'm just a nut who couldn't build a barbecue. You'll always be the artist in the family.
And Homer looks over his wife's painting and is like, is that our house?
Yep.
And is that us on the roof?
That's us.
Are we kissing?
Oh, I don't know. Could be.
And they start to kiss romantically. Marge needs inspiration, and they start to kiss romantically. But that means that they take their eyes off of Marge's easel, and none other than Jasper Johns comes up and steals Marge's art with a classic yoink, and he takes off in his boat as Arrivederci Roma, which is...
Arrivederci?
There you go. Plays over our closing credits. That brings us to the end of our third act and to the end of the episode. Mom and Pop Art. Richie, is there anything else that you or that book of yours want to talk about in this episode?
I did see another IMDb note on this one, is that painting at the end by Marge was by the staff animator Amy Cleese. So that was supposed to be a recreation of the Turner painting that we talked about earlier in the episode. So I thought that was really cool, actually, that they they put like an actual painting that somebody did in the episode. That's like remarkably cool, especially at that time when computer animation is still new to the barbecue. I was reading barbecue notes, new to the animation game. But another thing on the continuity is that Homer loses his bumper when the barbecue pulls it off, and in the next scene, his bumper's back on his car. So watch out for that stuff, man. It's dangerous to play with that. But other than that, I really love the ending to this episode. Like, they kind of quickly get rid of Marge's anger because everyone's having such a good time. But like, I feel like it's oddly peaceful and beautiful at the end, and it might just be like the music playing into that. But like, everyone's just having a good time. Nobody's mad, and I mean, obviously, in the next quote-unquote scene of the series, the town won't be flooded anymore. I'm assuming. I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But like, I
don't recall any other episode where the streets are continue to flood. So I think we'll probably reset it.
I mean, we had that one time where the whole dam flooded, and that didn't even put much water in Evergreen Terrace. But this is different. But yeah, I really enjoyed the way this one ended.
They have a very effective drainage system, which is why they're covered. Is able to flood, but those will all eventually get sucked through, and then the streets will clear again. So they did reset this one. They just didn't show us that part.
There you go.
I do have a couple other quick things. Actually, you brought up the bumper on Homer's, or when we see Homer's license plate. He also has a bumper sticker that says "Single and Sassy." And also in this episode, I already mentioned it guest starred Isabella Rossellini, who is a very, she's an actress and model. She's very beautiful, very popular at the time. That was, I want to say that was on, that was referenced in Friends. I don't remember why. Whatever. She was the guest star in this one. But the other one that I thought was kind of cool is there's a couple little Easter eggs in this, or not really Easter eggs, but since this was another episode about art, you may remember when the B Sharps were a thing and Homer and Barney were bandmates. Barney dated, had a girlfriend, the Japanese conceptual artist, also known as Yoko Ono. And Yoko Ono actually appears 3 times in this episode at the various art displays, and one time it's just a caricature of her outside of one of the art shows.
Just throwing in those little tidbits here and there.
I think that's fun. I just think that's really cool that they did that. But that does it for me. That is everything I have to say about the episode Mom and Pop Art. Richie, where can everyone follow us online?
Well, before I talk about Mr. Most Days Off, the WizKid _23 and Best Darn Diddly DIDDLY, do you like this episode, Miles? Did this one hold up at all to you?
Yes, sorry, 100% yes. I absolutely enjoy this episode a lot. I could definitely see this one being a contender for top 5. I'm not making any declarations yet because I was looking over those episodes today and I was like, God damn it, that's coming up soon.
Yep.
But I mean, this one's very memorable. It's really exciting that Al Jean is back. That to me was like a really fun thing to learn, just because this episode again feels special in a different way, in an older way, in a way that we haven't seen in 6 years, let's say. 6 seasons, if you will.
6 seasons in a movie, almost.
Hey, whoa, weird. 6 seasons in a movie. Simpsons did that too. Crazy. Yeah, love the episode, and definitely glad to have revisited it.
All right, well, thanks for that, Miles. As I quickly mentioned a few seconds ago, you can follow Miles at Mr. Most Days Off. You can follow myself at the Wiz _Kid23. And you can follow our show at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY. Make sure you check out our Twitter pages and pretty much any kind of social media you can think of. And Miles is pretty much all over social media in any capacity you can think of at Mr. Most Days Off. Check him out for show.
And also, make sure you come back again next week. First, we appreciate you coming here this week, of course, and thank you so much for that. But come back again next week because we've got another guest returning to keep the streak alive. Yeah, we're getting late in season, but he's here. Dr. Andrew Briseno will be here to review with us The Old Man and the Sea Students.
Les Best Darn Diddly? What the hell is that?
And until next time, be cromulent to each other.
Or be whatever he just said.